In the headlines tonight,
they bring paraffin, they bring textiles.
as the Indian community marks 100 years of doing business in Uganda, President Museveni says his government will continue supporting them.
It's a matter that needs to be clarified and handled well because it touches the economy.
Speaker of Parliament Anita Among gives Attorney General Kiriowa Chiwanuka up to Tuesday next week to explain why various bills are delayed in State House. Also tonight, a chief magistrate in Kamuli district has committed 3 suspects who allegedly killed a mobile money agent to the High Court for trial. And in sports, Uganda Sports Press Association and FUFA engage stakeholders on how to revamp Uganda's football. Welcome to CTV PM Edition. Today is Thursday, the 17th of November 2022. My name is Agi Uwase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are making headlines this evening. Starting off tonight, as the Indian community marks 100 years of doing business in Uganda, President Museveni has pledged to give them full support. He asked them to forget the history of Asians who were expelled from Uganda in 1972. Flavia Nikuze has the details.
The whole Kampala street is not full of Indians.
In early August 1972, the then president of Uganda, Idi Amin, ordered the expulsion of Asians from Uganda. He accused them of exploiting Ugandans and dominating all kinds of businesses, including retail and manufacturing. When Amin was overthrown in 1979, the Asians started returning to Uganda. A big number of them returned in 1986 after President Museveni captured power. As they mark 100 years of doing business in Uganda, President Museveni says it was wrong for President Idi Amin to expel them from Uganda.
I don't think Idi Amin was part of the wealth creation group. I think he was an urban type person. I don't think he was a farmer. I don't think he was a cattle keeper. I suspect he was part of this, what we call Bayai now, people who are not part of the wealth creation. And that's why he was looking at the Asians as a problem. For us, we had no problem at all with these people.
According to Museveni, it was not wrong for Asians to operate businesses in Uganda.
Our relationship with these people was symbiotic. They were helping us, we were helping them. And therefore, we could not be part of, we didn't see how these people were exploiting us, like Idi Amin was saying, because they were doing what we were not doing, and we were doing what they were not doing.
Evelyn Anite, the State Minister for Privatization and Investment, says Asians have contributed to the development of the country.
Uganda started prospering. Today, Mr. President, we're talking about 8,000 factories, thanks to you.
The chairman of the Indian Association Uganda, Mohan Lal, said they have carried out a number of activities in Uganda, especially in the health and education sector. He says they intend to invest over $160 million in Uganda.
Indian Association also sponsored over 1,000 students on technical education and related vocational training disciplines.
The Indian community has played a significant role in the socio-economic development of Uganda. We've invested in a range of commercial activities, including agro-processing, pharmaceutical, and many other sectors.
At the summit, first-generation investors like Sudhir Pareria, Meta, Madvan testified on their experiences doing business in Uganda. Flavia Nkuze for CTV, PM Edition.
Purchase of the A33.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has directed the Attorney General, Kiriwa Chiwenuka, up to Tuesday next week to present a report detailing why various bills that are not assented to by the President are not returned to Parliament to be reconsidered. The law demands that even bills that are assented to become acts of Parliament and are supposed to be returned to Parliament within 30 days.
Speaker Among was prompted by Bali County Member of Parliament Charles Tibandeke, who raised the matter during today's sitting. Tibandeke wondered why, despite the law that stipulates such bills should be returned within 30 days, the Speaker seems not be bothered when such deadlines are not met.
So what should we do in case the bill is bulky? The fisheries bill was passed in a week as we were going for recess, that is before 29th. And it's now 30 days past. So what should be the guidance when the stakeholders are asking us a lot of questions over the same? Speaker, fishermen are being tortured and killed in this guise of enforcement, which enforcement is also illegally enforcing the bill. Right, Honorable Speaker, it's a matter that needs to be clarified and handled well because it touches the economy. This is not politics.
However, Chiwenuka told Parliament that most bills are bulky, which takes time to be pursued through by the President and the Clerk of Parliament to make a final decision of assenting to them or not. He said he was not aware that some bills have taken over 30 days before being returned to Parliament.
Some of the bills that are bulky will take time because we sit through them with the clerk's office, try and prepare them. Some of them are sent to the President at different times. I am not aware of any bill that is outside the time, but I will come back on Tuesday with a report on this.
Chiwenuka's explanation was, however, rejected by members of Parliament who wondered how a government legal advisor can be unaware that Parliament in March passed bills that include among those the Financial Services and Market Bill, the Fisheries and Aquaculture Bill, the Rice Bill, among others.
Madam Speaker, is the Attorney General in order to mislead Parliament that is ignorant about what takes place in Parliament, that when they pass laws is not aware, or that he is ignorant of the Constitution, that a bill passed in March, it is now almost a year, and the principal legal advisor of government is not even aware that a law was passed by Parliament.
Whenever we pass a bill and the bill is presented to the President, the clerk furnishes copies of evidence of presentation to all members of Parliament, so that the business of us waiting until the bill is either returned when it is late or whatever stops.
This prompted Speaker Among to direct Chiwenuka to present a detailed report on bills which have not been assented to by the President and why they have not been brought back to Parliament.
The market bill was passed in March, so you need to make a follow-up on that and give this House a response on Tuesday on all the bills.
Safi, Mokili Baluku and Sarana Kandi, CTV, PM Edition.
The Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, with support from the Enhanced Integrated Framework, a World Trade Organization agency, is organizing a handcraft expo slated for November to boost tourism-related businesses dealing in handcrafts and souvenirs. The Enhanced Framework is a global development program with the objective of supporting less developed countries to better integrate into the global trading system and to make trade a driver for development.
The Enhanced Integrated Framework has provided a 1.5 million grant to the Ministry of Tourism to support the sector, especially in the handcraft and souvenir development project. The State Minister for Tourism, Martin Bahinduka, says the expo is aimed at promoting the tourism sector through the handcraft and souvenir development project.
If you look at our NDP3 plan, for instance, I think it emphasizes so much on such sectors that need to be pushed so that people can have some more money into their pockets. So I think it's important that we support this as a ministry we do.
The handcraft and souvenir development project will be the first of its kind to be held in Kamocha, Kampala, and it's intended to boost authentic handcraft and souvenir products made by Ugandans. The aim is to create linkages between traders and producers from all over the globe.
The Handcraft and Souvenir Development Project is actually one of the first things, one of the major things that government is doing through the Ministry of Tourism to support the handcrafts and souvenirs sector. What we are doing as a project is to help bring up the sector by creating linkages between producers, traders, and exporters.
Chizito says a handcraft production center is being constructed to boost such efforts.
We're actually preparing other projects to help boost the sector further.
The expo will take place from November the 24th to November 26th at the Uganda Museum, and all Ugandans are urged to showcase their crafts. Hope Nyongereza, CTV PM edition.
Makerere University has today joined the Uganda Bureau of Statistics to mark the Africa Statistics Week. The university organized a dialogue with statistics students across different institutions. During the dialogues, participants cited a need for mindset change regarding data collection as well as dissemination. Let's take a look.
Statistics students and experts from different universities have today converged at Makerere University to mark the Africa Statistics Week. The statisticians believe that statistics is crucial in policy formulation and implementation in today's changing world.
We try to review the progress we have made globally and nationally in terms of the methodologies that we have been able to use to produce statistics, but also we try to remind ourselves that we have a mandate to do in this country to produce reliable statistics, to inform policy decisions and planning for this country.
Statistics is a science and is ever changing, and new methodologies are evolving. And therefore, there is need for the academia to touch base with the practicing statisticians, so that we are able to exchange ideas and be able to strike an equilibrium that is able to enable us be able to move statistics to a higher notch.
The emphasis has been put on the changing technology and methods of data collection. There are concerns over the continued use of traditional methods given the changing world.
The traditional data sources are becoming almost obsolete in terms of getting quick data or timely data which decision makers need. That's why we need now to look into the field of non-traditional data.
This year's focus puts emphasis on food security and the policies needed to ensure sustainable food supply. According to Okadala, the Dean of Students at Makerere University, the focus is timely given the government's shift community approach to improve agriculture.
And now, given that the country is moving to eradicating poverty at the household level through the partnership development model, how do we position ourselves as statisticians to work with other government agencies so that we can give enough evidence and the data to inform decision making, planning, and also implementation of government programs in this country?
The world is evolving, and agricultural systems are quickly adopting to this evolution. Data statistics are clearly, no doubt, the best materials for assessing these changes. If statistical practices do not evolve, we will find ourselves unable to properly analyze reality. No doubt about that.
The Africa Statistics Day is marked every 18th day of November. Ramson Muhire, CTV PM edition.
Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with more news. Just stay with us.
I'm Biarhanga Bobos, Mayor Player of the Year, and Uganda Cranes midfielder and Vipers Sports Club. I started in the village where I come from. I come from Tsolo. I'm Mfumbira. I started from Tsolo Young Simba. I played for Young Simba and Harambe Soccer Academy.
He will go for a shot! Thunderbolt from the best player for Bosidia Ruhanga!
They see me on TV, they feel happy to play for the national team. Just out of football, I like chilling with my friends, even like watching basketball, because me, I love basketball, and I'm a fan of City Oilers in Uganda.
Nirvana packaged drinking water is a product of Crown Beverages Limited, makers of Pepsi products. That's life. That's Nirvana.
Hits it in the air. Will that be set? He's done it. What a magnificent performance.
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, life switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
Sometimes in life, we spend all the time trying to live other people's life. And along the way, we lose who we are by copying what other people are doing in their relationship.
You see, from the last time I met your sister, I've not spent a day or a minute without thinking about her.
It's a good surprise on a Monday. This is nice.
So you and him are we're just friends. Wow. Come on.
Just friends.
You either tell me where you're from or you go back to where you've been.
Thinking it would work out for us, but yet to find out that's not who we are after experiencing a great disappointment.
She's in love with some other man, so classy, a gentleman.
No poor dogs like you. These are the mistakes girls do.
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back. You're still watching CTV PM edition with me, Agi Uwase, and Isaac Luchamzi in sign language. Now, moving on, the Minister for Kampala has presented terms that were agreed upon in a meeting with President Museveni on managing government public markets in Kampala. Minister Kamande says wealthy business people will have to vacate the markets to enable KCCA select ordinary people to manage them.
Following the rise in the Ebola cases, there have been calls for lockdown to help curb the spread of the virus. In order to prevent the government from imposing a lockdown, officials from the Kampala City Traders Association have urged their members to join the fight against Ebola.
Blood, vomiting, urine.
Thaddeus Musoke Nagenda, the acting chairperson Kampala City Traders Association Kasita, says a lockdown will heavily affect the economy, especially the businesses that have not yet recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic.
The lockdown negatively affected us. Even currently, we are still struggling with the effects of the lockdown. We still have loan arrears, rent issues, businesses have collapsed.
Kasita has also revealed that they have established an Ebola task force to help in the fight,
which is going to work in collaboration with the public sector to make sure there is full implementation of SOPs in all work areas and even arcades, and to make sure that the business community fully implements SOPs.
Traders who also do not comply with the standard operating procedures and measures have also been warned.
We are working with the police and the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Trade, where uncooperative businessmen, their premises will be closed.
The first Ebola cases in Kampala were recently reported, and now Kasita is planning to launch a sensitization campaign in some of the crowded heavily areas. Hope Nyongereza, CTV, PM edition.
Now, the Chief Magistrate's Court in Kamuli District has committed 3 youths who are suspected of shooting a mobile money agent dead, having been committed to the High Court for trial. Now, the suspects allegedly shot dead Ali Opio and stole his money, phones, among other items.
Aisha Nabukera, the Chief Magistrate of Kamuli Court, committed the suspects to High Court to face trial. This was after Angela Bakinga, the Senior State Prosecutor based in Uganda District, told court that investigations were complete.
The statement of offense, Your Worship, is murder contrary to section 188, contrary to section 188 and 189 of the Penal Code Act, chapter 120. Your Worship, today, Your Worship, our investigations are complete and we pray to commit the 3 accused persons to the High Court for their trial.
It's alleged that the suspect on March 15, 2022, they shot Ali Opio, a mobile money dealer, near his home before taking off with 16 million shillings and several mobile phones. The same suspects are also accused of killing a security guard who was attached to Blue Light Guards Uganda Limited and stole his gun. The guard was on duty at Sendakau offices in Kamuli District. The suspects reportedly used the gun to kill Opio, the mobile money operator. Before committing them to High Court and remanding them to Chirinya Prison in Jinja, Chief Magistrate Nabukela said such people are not supposed to be in society.
Such people need to be out of saturation. Community needs to sleep peacefully without any worries of burglars at the home.
The court also committed 3 suspects to High Court over aggravated defilement.
Of the summary evidence to the accused persons, the court hereby commits each of them to High Court for trial. Trial date shall be communicated by the trial court.
The Speaker, George Mutiabuli, says the commuto is a path of justice for the victims and suspects.
The purpose of the commuto is for you, for the accused person and his lawyers, to be at least aware that this son has been taken to the court, the competent jurisdiction, to try him. And it is out of that that we will press for a date to be given so that his client is prosecuted accordingly. But of course, murder cases or capital offences take a long time to investigate, and eventually they take time, they take a lot of time to be tried and disposed.
The Chief of Defense Intelligence of East Africa states have met in Kampala to discuss security threats in their nation's region and the world as well. Now, the one-day meeting was at Protea Hotel Skies, and it focused on adopting measures in managing the volatile security environment in the region, proper assessment of the security risks, and creating a conducive environment to enhance defense cooperation, among other issues. Now, the Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, General Peter Elwelu, said the region is experiencing dynamic environmental threats that present major challenges to collective security.
You are coming together as the eyes and ears of our states. We believe that we'll be able to get to understand, get to help our states in detecting all threats. It's good that you have come together as a region. What is important is that we must have, first of all, mutual trust. Trust one another and be able to look into these threats objectively and find ways of handling them as a region. As Africa, we have so many challenges, but it is only us that can sort out these problems. And with you at the front line, we should be able to deal with all these problems which are facing our.
In our regional news tonight, a second tragedy in 3 days in the outskirts of Kenya's capital. A multi-story building under construction collapsed on a neighboring home, killing at least 2 people on Thursday, authorities said. And a new study has found that climate change severely worsened the heavy rains that caused large-scale flooding across swaths of Nigeria and Niger this year, killing hundreds of people.
Housing is in high demand and unscrupulous developers often bypass regulations. Construction authorities have warned of unsafe buildings. Frederick Kramau's parents didn't make it alive. He says his mom and dad were inside the house when the building started collapsing. It trapped them. He says when the ambulance came to rescue them, they found them already dead. 3 other people have been rescued alive from the family home that was next to the collapsed building, located in the Ruaka suburb. After building collapses in Kenya in 2015, the presidency ordered an audit to see if the country's buildings were up to code. The National Construction Authority found that 58% of the buildings in Nairobi were unfit for habitation. A new study has found that climate change severely worsened the heavy rains that caused large-scale flooding across swaths of Nigeria and Niger this year, killing hundreds of people. The floods were recorded as the worst ever in the 2 countries. The report by World Weather Attribution says extreme seasonal rainfall and the release of water from dams caused the flooding from June to October. They concluded the event was made 80 times more likely by climate change. Almost 1.5 million people were displaced, hundreds of thousands of homes were swept away, and over 500,000 hectares of farmland was devastated by the floods. Some Nigerian states, especially coastal ones where water flows in the River Niger, Africa's 3rd longest river, and by far the most important in West Africa, and the Benue River, are no strangers to such problems. But this year's deluge in Nigeria is among the worst the country has ever seen. A decade ago, the worst flooding in more than 40 years in Nigeria claimed 431 lives and forced nearly 2 million people to leave their homes. This year's devastation has seen even more deaths.
And elsewhere in the world, Republicans have secured the 2018 seats needed for a majority in the lower chamber of Congress a week after the midterm elections. And more strikes have been reported across Ukraine days after one of Russia's most intense bombardments of the war.
Republicans have secured the 218 seats needed for a majority in the lower chamber of the Congress a week after the midterm elections. While the party's margin in the House of Representatives is rather thin, it is enough to stall President Joe Biden's agenda for the next 2 years. Kevin McCarthy, the Republicans' leader in the House, celebrated the result, but Democrats will retain control of the upper chamber, the Senate. The new Congress will convene in January. The Republicans, who had hoped to win back control of both chambers, underperformed expectations in the last week's midterm elections, but they won the seat they needed for their House majority on Wednesday when California's 27th district went to incumbent Mike Garcia. The Republican Party is now projected to win between 218 to 223 seats in the 435-seat House, according to CBS. McCarthy, who was picked by rank and file Republicans on Tuesday to be their nominee to replace Democrat Nancy Pelosi as the next Speaker of the House, said the chamber had been officially flipped. More strikes have been reported across Ukraine days after one of Russia's most intense bombardments of the war. A gas production plant in the east and a missile factory in Dnipro were among latest targets, officials say. Parts of Ukraine have seen their first snowfall of the season, but many people cannot heat their homes as Russia continues to pound their power grid. Moscow has looked to justify its recent strikes by accusing Kyiv of unwillingness to negotiate. Its recent long-range attacks follow a series of setbacks on the battlefield during the months-long war. One of Ukraine's largest cities, Dnipro, was was among those targeted early on Thursday. Prime Minister Denis Shimihaus said the Pivdenmarsh factory, which produces missiles, had come under attack. Another official said 14 people, including a teenager, had been taken to hospital after the city was shelled. Elsewhere in the region, 70 shells were said to have landed around the city of Nikopol, damaging infrastructure and leaving thousands of homes without power and water.
Let's take a short break and we'll be right back with news from the world of sports. Do stay with us.
If I start talking about what football has done for me, of course I will not finish all of them, because football has really done a lot for me. Of course, playing for the national team makes me happy to represent my people, because whenever I'm here in the national team, back home there, people are watching me. So they are proud of me. Like whenever I go back, they feel happy because their boy is in the national team, and it's something which is it's not easy, because I think in Western Nile, I don't know how many players are there, but I think right now they are there, but I don't know, but they are happy because I've been there with them. They know that I'm their own, and to be their own in the national team, of course, it makes them happy. And sometimes if I don't play football, I play volleyball. I love playing volleyball. In the morning, football; in the evening, volleyball.
Nirvana Packaged Drinking Water is a product of Crown Beverages Limited, makers of Pepsi products. That's life. That's Nirvana.
Faisha Pictures International presents a new movie, Beneath Beauty. The killer is found dead and the victim on the run. Friday 25th November 2022 at Theatre La Bonita. Entrance will be 30K and VIP 50K. 6 p.m. Beneath Beauty will commence. Don't miss Aisha Chomohanji, Matovu Jr., DJ Nimrod, Allen Musumba, Edison Abitegeka, Dennis Duke, Namara Jole, Ziwa Jabal, Jackie Katutsime, Mushabe Daniel, the hottest Nigerian Kingsley Obiyekwe. Beneath Beauty is produced by Aisha Chomohanji, written and directed by Tumanyane Andrew. For bookings, please visit Sungura House Bukoto, Theatre La Bonita, Total Buyugerere, Total Bunamwaya, or download the Cinema UG app on both Android and iOS. You can contact Faisha Pictures at 0741 846 446. Beneath Beauty, a new movie by Faisha Pictures International at Theatre La Bonita on Friday 25th November. See you there.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back. Now moving on to the world of sports, Uganda Sports Press Association and FUFA have held a media engagement today at the Imperial Royal Hotel. The meeting was attended by various FUFA delegates and different sports journalists. Now FUFA President Moses Magogo and USPA President Patrick Kanyomozi and other officials explored ways on how the media can help the football body to revamp the football industry in Uganda.
The way the bills are done is that sometimes are done by individuals, sometimes the individual members of parliament, sometimes are done by government through the ministries, line ministries. And what has happened, that we have been singing this song of the 1964 Act being archaic and old. I'm sure everybody in this house has heard this story, has heard this chorus of the song. And when I became a member of parliament, I put it to myself that I'm not going to finish my 5 years as a member of parliament without Uganda getting a law. That would be a road deal for sport. So I took it upon myself to try and come up with the private members bill, which I did, following all procedures that are there in the law. And as we speak today, it has finished the first reading and it's in the committee. From the committee, it comes back on the floor or the plenary, and after discussion, it becomes law, and if the president assents it, it becomes effective. But also the Ministry of Education and Sport, they were dragging their feet. We are aware that the elections of WUSP are going on, and I want to be very clear and categorical as FUFA, we do not support any candidate in these elections. And I think that's the best that we can do. Anybody associating us, that is your internal politics, and let us not be part of it, because we want to work with whoever is the president.
It's hooliganism in football, which everyone in the media condemns for different reasons. One, it kills the game, and if it kills the game, it means that it has killed our garden, because our garden in this case is sports coverage, and football forms a very big part of our job, the coverage that we do.
We've come to the end of CTV PM edition. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Have a good night.